Okay, welcome everyone. So I am with Nicole Sachs of theCureFromChronicPain.com and Grant Lewis, who among many other things is a Gabriel Method coach. And we are here to talk about chronic pain and freedom from chronic pain. And Nicole has an amazing technique that she uses where she just works with emotions to heal chronic pain, which I think is fabulous. And I know that we work with emotions all the time in the Gabriel Method to help heal weight. And what I've found many times is that when we are effective at healing emotions, not only do people lose weight, but the chronic pain goes away also. Nicole has had amazing, amazing success in her own life and with other people healing chronic pain. And one of them is our Gabriel Method coach, Grant Lewis, who just had an amazing recovery. And I just want to turn over, and this is how I heard about Nicole's work, and I just want to turn it over to Grant right now and hear about that story. So Grant, tell me about your experience with chronic pain, with your back pain, and what happened when you started doing Nicole's work.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, as you know, John, I met you, geez, I don't know how, 12 years ago, something like that. And I was about 30 kilos heavier, which is, you'd know that in pounds, like 66 pounds heavier than I am now. And a huge part of that was emotional things that I needed to deal with and setting boundaries and all of that sort of stuff. So for me, a lot of that weight shift was to do with a psychological shift that you helped me with. And so as I sort of developed and understood how that affected my weight, I found myself last year in a really I took on a consulting role for a large group, and I just very, very stressful. And then I just ended up with like back pain, and I was using standing desks, and I was just doing all of these sorts of things, everything I could do to alleviate it. I bought these like kind of straps to go around my knees that would support my back when I sat. I just tried all these different things. And I got to the point where I was in so much pain. I was seeing 2 different chiropractors. I was getting x-rays done, and they were pointing as to what was wrong with me and what, like, the long road ahead to recovery and all that sort of stuff. And then it just popped into my mind that a friend of mine about a year ago, I think, had posted on Facebook saying, finally, I'm free of my chronic pain. And I remember liking it, didn't really inquire because at the time I wasn't in what I would have called chronic pain. I didn't even know what chronic pain was. And it wasn't until I couldn't sleep. I was in so much pain I wasn't sleeping. And I remember just sitting in the chiropractor's office in front of him, and he's done however many adjustments. And I actually had tears, and I was just like, I'm in so much pain that, like, I'm stressed from work, but then I'm at the same time, I'm stressed from not being able to sleep. And then I'm stressed, and then I can't exercise. Like I got through the Gabriel Method. I learned to just enjoy my body. I live at Bondi Beach, and I love to go for a walk, and I love to just be active. And he was telling me I need to be less active. And I was just honestly killing me. And I was just felt terrible. And then, so I messaged my friend and I said, hey, what was that? And she just forwarded me Nicole's thing. It was the CureFromChronicPain.com. And I went, oh, okay. And then as I watched the first video of Nicole's, I went, oh, this is like John, only in pain. And so I bought the course, did it, and
didn't come out exactly right what you just said, but I think I know what you're saying. It's like John's work, only directed toward pain. What
did I say?
That's like John's work, only in pain.
You know what I mean? It's like, because I'd had such success with the Gabriel Method, and I tried like everybody dieting and all that stuff, just like I tried the chiropractors and all that stuff. And I saw that there was potentially it could be something to do with a psychological shift. And so, I did the course. And I did it very quickly. I was in a lot of pain. It was affecting my work life. It was affecting my relationship. It was affecting my health. It was affecting financially. I mean, going and seeing the chiropractors and having to take time off to go do that. It was just expensive. And I just dedicated a couple of days to just going through and reading it all. And I remember sending a message to my friend after a couple of days and said, wow, this, excuse my language, but this shit works. I'm 95% better. Like, thank you. And then I reached out to Nicole and just say, hey, like, my friend recommended you, and like, it's amazing, and keep up the good work. And then we started a conversation, and I said, look, I've got to introduce you to John. And here we are. So I'm excited. So guys, meet.
So you told me that when you did the work, that within a couple of hours, you were doing sprints on the beach for the first time in months, like it was
Yeah. So
freedom.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, okay, for me, it was a miracle thing. I don't know if that would be,
Yeah, I want to hear about it. Let me
yeah.
hear
So, I
about
mean,
your specific situation.
yeah. So the day before I come from the chiropractor and I was like, in a lot of pain, I was sitting on the sofa with, 3 or 4 pillows kind of supporting my back. And I was, legs in a position to try and anyway, I did a bunch of exercises and I started to feel well enough to go for a walk. And I was listening to some of Nicole's videos and what, not watching them, but I guess listening to them. And then I got home that night, wrote out the journal speak that Nicole, I'm sure, will talk about, and did like that. And then the next morning just woke up feeling amazing. And like, I was like, oh my God, no pain. Is this placebo? Is this real? Like, I was like really like trying to feel into it. And so I thought, well, I'll just go for a walk. And then I just was like, I'm in no pain. And I just started sprinting up and down the beach. And so I did a lap all the way up and back of sort of maybe like 3.5 Ks.
Wow.
In barefoot in this ocean, sun on my skin, just loving life again. So yeah,
amazing. So just to be clear, the work that you were doing was emotional work, right? You weren't doing any kind of manipulation of your spine or stretching or positioning. The work that you were doing with Nicole's work, you were doing emotional work, and by doing that, you're going from the chiropractor's office on a bed to doing sprints on the beach.
Yeah, I mean that's what killed me was that I've done. My mom's a yoga teacher. I was getting regular massages, so like I was doing yoga and things like that, but it just was getting what, and so I was just like, oh my, and that's why I ended up going and getting x-rays. And then the reason why I was saying 2 different chiropractors is that I wanted one that was highly mechanical and one that also practiced more of kinesiology and like a traditional chiropractic at the same time. So I was trying to cover all bases. And yeah, so it was pretty remarkable. And like the crazy thing is I've had some of the pain come back and then I do Nicole's work and then it's gone again. Amazing. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's a toolkit now. I actually have this for life. And I just helped my girlfriend started coming down with a really bad cold and I watched it happen and I said, hey, like, let me show you what I've been doing. And I took her through the course and then amazingly she woke up the next day feeling like where I would have thought she was going to wake up just, really sick. And she was like, wow, that worked. So I don't know whether you've had that experience, Nicole, around just even sickness, but.
Well, so Nicole, you also were able to cure yourself working through this emotional technique. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you found the technique and what it did for you?
Sure, of course. So when I was 19 years old, I had what they call an acute pain incident. So I was at college and it was during a particularly stressful time and my back went out. People say my back went out. So my back went out. I was laid up on the floor. I was in, tears. I was terrified. And my parents had to pick me up, physically pick me up, bring me home from university. And I was home doing orthopedic surgeons, MRIs, x-rays, and on a lot of medication, muscle relaxers and opioid pain medication. And nobody knew what was wrong with me until the MRI came back. And then they decided what was wrong with me, which, I'll explain as we go on in this conversation that there's nothing wrong with me. But what came through on my MRI is I have a condition, and I do have a diagnosable condition called spondylolisthesis. And I have a pretty degenerative case, which just means that in my lower spine, I have a pretty severe abnormality. I have 2 stress fractures in 2 of the vertebrae, and one of my vertebrae is completely shattered and replaced with scar tissue. And so when you look at it on an MRI, and I have back pain, it does make a lot of sense, logically, that was the reason for my back pain. And so what the doctors told me at the age of 19 is that there were to be no more exercise. Similar to what Grant just said, I was to bring my physical self really small. There would be no travel. There would be no sports that involved bouncing around, no jogging. I was like a big rollerblader at the time. It was the 90s. No rollerblading, after all. No horseback riding, and I loved riding. So all that was over for me. And the worst blow for me at the moment was that it would be unlikely that I would carry a child to term, a biological child, because my back was damaged enough that would be putting myself in real jeopardy to have that kind of weight in the front. Yeah. And So essentially what happened to me and what I often talk about is that I started being fueled by fear. I believe that chronic pain it looks like it's an epidemic of pain, but actually it's an epidemic of fear. And that as we project the things that we're not going to be able to do and the way our life is going to be limited, it fuels the pain and it becomes this endless cycle. So at the time, I was told that I would need spinal fusion surgery in order to heal, which means that they would put a rod in my spine and it would decrease my mobility for life. And still, I couldn't have the baby and I couldn't exercise, but at least I'd be able to walk upright. And a couple doctors said, well, you might live to 40 without, but soon you're going to be hunched. It was terrifying at the time. And so when you say, how did I come upon this work? I think that my consciousness didn't fit with the diagnosis that I was getting. I think that there's a spiritual aspect to this and that I just wasn't going to align with that. It wasn't enough to convince me. I was going to seek. And in my seeking, I came upon the work of Dr. John Sarno, who is, an international best-selling author. He passed away last summer at the age of 94. And he explained that even though we have abnormalities, we have bulging discs, we have spondylolisthesis, we have, different, when you look at our bodies, we all look different on the inside, just like we all look different on the outside. Those are called normal abnormalities. So actually there is nothing wrong with me. There's something different about me than maybe you or Grant or somebody else. But there's also things that are not, that are different in me that, from all of us. And so essentially what happened was I decided to embark on Dr. Sarno's work. And it is essentially, well, tell me how far you want me to get into this before we, do you want me to just go for it?
Just tell me about your experience. Tell me how tell me what happened.
Okay. So essentially I read Dr. Sarno's book, and what at the time, what I understood was, sometimes we feel things in our hearts and sometimes we feel things in our bodies, right? And so sometimes people experience deep pain as physical pain, deep emotional pain, like the loss of a child. The person is racked with pain. And sometimes, we think we just feel fibromyalgia, but what we're really feeling is deep trauma and grief that we haven't understood how to process. Yeah. And so I understood that. And essentially, I was to commence on a journaling expedition where I needed to just get really honest with myself, because the problem is not that we have emotions. The problem is that we don't know how to properly feel them. And once we are taught how to properly feel our emotions in a way that is safe, and that emotional repression is allowed to safely rise, literally the need for the pain is eliminated, and it goes. And that's what happens.
It's almost like the pain, the physical pain is an expression of the emotional pain that you're not experiencing and feeling. I tell my daughter's 15, she's almost 16 years old now. And I tell her that one of the most underappreciated and probably the most important things to physical and mental health and success in life is learning how to feel your emotions. Mm-hmm. Most people do not know how to feel their emotions. They drink, they suppress it, just get on with it, toughen up. This is where, and then you go down this road of chronic pain and chronic and medications, and it's great for all the pharmaceutical companies, because you become a druggie for them, and that's great for them, and nobody's going to talk you out of it. But it's really about feeling your emotions and learning how to feel your emotions. And I just want to say that, because what we've discovered in my own work, in my own experience of losing weight, I knew that emotions were a big component for me, and I had to heal my emotions. And with the people that we work with, we focus on emotions. And we sometimes see, I have one guy who lost 400 pounds, but many people that lose 100, 200 pounds and keep it off simply by working through emotions. Mm-hmm. But I'm not an expert in chronic pain. But the first time I ever even heard of fibromyalgia was when somebody had been cured of it by working through the emotions that they had to work through to heal weight. And that was about 10 years ago. And since then, I've had so many people be free of chronic pain by healing their emotions, that it's just kind of like common for me at this point. But to see someone like you, and you're a psychiatrist or like a psychotherapist, what is it?
Yeah, I'm a psychotherapist. Yes.
You're a psychotherapist. You're practicing this. grant one of my coaches has had miraculous cures. To see how you've systematized this, something that I know already and see already, is for me extremely exciting. Because as you said, when you have chronic pain, the type of pain that you had, you wouldn't have been able to exercise. And that chronic pain is causing chronic inflammation, which is causing you to gain weight too. So when you work through the emotions that cause the pain, you're also able to lose weight. It's a one size fits all. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I just
I want to add that also a lot of I can say almost the exact same thing that you just said, but flip it.
Yeah.
A lot of my patients who were experiencing chronic pain, but also obesity, once they started doing this work on my end, the weight came off.
So they came to you for chronic pain, but they ended up losing weight. And I've had people that came to me for losing weight and ended up healing chronic pain, because they tell you there's no cure for fibromyalgia. And in fact, they don't even know what fibromyalgia is. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just a word to give you an excuse to take more drug. They just don't know. And it's just pain all over the body. They don't know what causes it.
Yeah.
So, but I've seen it go away, and I guess you have too. So tell us, where are you now? Like in your if you did rollerblading and you were 19 in the 90s, you got to be close to 40 now, although you don't look it at all. But you probably must be. Like, are you healthy? Where are you now?
Okay, so let me just say that I can't say this with enough gratitude and emotion. All right, so I'm 46, but thank you for saying that I don't look it.
You look amazing.
And I do think that part of the fact that I'm so youthful has to do with the fact that my mind body system is clean. Yeah. It's clear. I know how to work this. I know how to feel things in a way that is not frightening to me and is incredibly cleansing for my mind body spirit system. So I'm 46 years old. The moment that I figured out that I wasn't damaged and nothing was wrong with me, and I could systematically learn how to feel my feelings, which is a process I call journal speak, which I teach in the course, Freedom from Chronic Pain, which is at the Cure for Chronic Pain. I'm sure you'll be giving, everybody.
Okay. We can talk about that. Yeah. But keep going.
In any case, I my entire life changed that day. I have no chronic back pain ever, ever, ever. I have 3 biological children. My oldest is going to be 16. She's a junior. I've got a 13-year-old going into 8th grade, and I have a 10-year-old. I exercised until the day they were born. When they were born, I gained the appropriate amount of pregnancy weight. When they were born, I used this process. I lost all my pregnancy weight within 4 or 5 months of having my babies, and it is such a healthy practice. And I often say, I've done a lot of seeking. I've done a lot of work over the years and learning how to help people and helping myself. And I often say everything true is the same. When I read about your work, John, and I see the way you help people to lose weight, and I look at my work and the way I help people to be out of chronic pain, it's all the same. It's about understanding the ways in which we can take care of ourselves, which go far beyond what we might have learned as children.
Healing and feeling emotion is the most underrated cure for so many different things in life. And also, it's also a spiritual practice, because when you're not feeling emotion, you're just blocked. And when you're blocked, you tend to have repetitive thoughts and be reactive. You're not conscious. You're not present. You don't grow. There's nothing flowing. Growth comes from flowing. And when your emotions are blocked, you are blocked. You are not flowing. And whenever you're blocked, that's akin to death. Stagnation is death. Flowing is life. Emotions are meant to flow. And as I said, I tell my daughter, whenever she's feeling something, I said, you feel that. You feel that. Let yourself feel it. It takes courage to feel emotions, but that's where healing is. So I'm excited. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, it was really interesting. As life would have it, I ended up in a chemist on Sunday night and just buying toilet paper. And the chemist, was there, and he said, we'd run out. So I went into the chemist and he said, oh, do you live locally? And I said, yeah. And he said, I didn't really see you. Like, I haven't seen you before. And I said, oh, no, like, I don't even take Panadol. I just, I don't take, so for Americans, that's Advil, I believe.
Yeah, and also for Americans, a chemist is a pharmacy. By the way.
Oh, pharmacist. All right, pharmacist. So I went into the pharmacist just to buy toilet paper. Anyway, we got talking, and then it turned out that he was very much into natural health. And I said, that's so weird. And he said, oh, I studied, being a pharmacist, 30 years ago, and here I am. But he said, oh, and he turned to all these drugs, and he said, this stuff is ridiculous. And I said, oh, well, you might be interested in this course that I just did, the Cure for Chronic Pain. And And he said, well, how would you explain it? And I said, well, I'm going to borrow this from Nicole. And this is, I think, the linchpin. And every time I've had to explain this, and I just explained this to a friend of mine who literally has climbed Everest 7 times. So he's done the 7 summits 7 times. He's a professional mountain climber. You want to talk about pain and grit and all of that stuff. But he also had acid reflux, just debilitating acid reflux and blah, blah, blah. Went and saw a specialist, and the specialist just went, you're stressed. You've just started a new company. You've just gotten married. You've just moved to a new country, like everything. And that's what's going on. And I don't need to cut you open, and I don't need to give you these drugs. And he said, go away and start to meditate. And so my friend was saying, I'm now meditating. I'm doing this. And it's reduced acid reflux. So again, I said, oh, you got to check out this course. Now, how I describe it to people, which I got from Nicole, is just purely, there's a 5-year-old inside of all of us that lives in polite society. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, I get it. Yeah. There's a 5-year-old inside of me that has to go to the boardroom and sit with my clients. I have very, very wealthy clients. These guys own hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of assets, and that's my day job. And I sit in rooms and deal with people and the politics that are at play and all of those things. And somewhere there's this 5-year-old, and then there's the reality. And then I'm in a relationship, and then I have a cat that wakes me up at 4 a.m. because he's hungry. And there's a 5-year-old that just like, just let me sleep. Do not wake me.
Like you have a kid,
and then where's the emotion? And so somewhere there's this difference. And as soon as I said it to the chemist, as soon as I said it to my friend who's the mountain climber, they both went, oh, that makes so much sense. And so the chemist is writing it down. He's online looking at it, and he's like, oh, this sounds amazing. And this is a guy who's got, all the drugs behind him. Yeah. That all he's doing, and he's saying, this is crazy. I don't know why we're giving this stuff to people.
Yeah. Well,
I want to comment on that real quick in terms of this, because I think what people don't understand, a lot of times people who look at Dr. Sarno's work, who was my mentor, and then my work in relation to that think, well, are you telling me the pain's in my head? As soon as people hear emotions, they think that like someone's suggesting that they're making it up. And so I feel it's like really important to drive this home. Really important, okay? The pain is not in your head. Right. When I was on my back on the floor in tears, being removed as a 19-year-old from college, the pain was so much that if I moved slightly, I thought I was going to be sick. I mean, it's so real. This is not that the pain is in your head. This is a scientific process that actually is more scientific than surgery. What this is that when we have repressed emotions, we take a certain amount of energy to hold them down, right? So we all know that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is just transferred from one form to another. So when we use all this energy to hold these emotions down, this anger, and when I'm talking anger, I'm talking rage. When you have a newborn baby who you love, who you want to care for, who you're thrilled to have, but they're up for the 4th time that night, you're feeling rage, but there's no appropriate place to put that rage because you're not supposed to. You have a new baby. Be grateful, right? We're all about gratitude, and I'm not suggesting that you're not grateful. I'm suggesting that all of those emotions need a safe place to live. That 5-year-old doesn't want to go to work, doesn't want to take care of the baby, doesn't want everybody bothering him all the time. And so what happens is when those emotions, when we don't have the energy, because we only have so much energy in the day to keep them down, what happens is they start to rise little by little by little. And as they knock on the door of our consciousness and threaten to tell us how angry we are, that we're not going to take care of that blanking baby for one more second, there is a process that happens in our body where we go into a fight or flight. We literally feel the need to protect ourselves from our own feelings. Mm-hmm. And when that process happens, there needs to be a way for our body to protect ourselves. And the nervous system in the brain, and this is an absolutely scientific phenomena, channel pain to some place that we will buy it, right? So I had an MRI that told me that I had a spondylolisthesis. If I have back pain, I'm going to buy that. Once people get chronic migraines, a headache, they're going to buy that. And what do? We limit ourselves. We get into bed. We turn off the lights. We cancel our plans. And even though that seems ridiculous that keeps us safe, I like to call it safe in the unsafest way. Our systems prefer that. We're back into equilibrium. We've canceled our plans. We're limiting our lives. And that feels safer than feeling the feelings. But when in my program where I help people actually safely feel their feelings, that whole process never happens. That whole process is not necessary to protect us. And it's pretty remarkable. It's pretty miraculous. I like to call it a modern miracle.
I like what you say that the pain's not in your head, the pain's in your body, but the cause of the pain may not be from your body, and the cure for it may not be in your body either. And I think that's really powerful. I know that there's been times when I've had really bad back pain, so bad that I've been laid out for weeks and couldn't eat, like would have to crawl to the bathroom, just couldn't even stand up type of pain. And the times that that's happened, there's been really emotionally stressful situations in my life where I felt really unprotected, insecure, unsafe. And I just feel like my whole body just latches out. I also had chronic migraines as a kid that I was not able to heal through any type of medication, but was finally able to heal through visualization and meditation and working through, which was, from a child's perspective, working through feeling some of the feelings that I was feeling and processing them. So this work to me is really fabulous. And I just want to say, I want to know about this course that you have, but before I do, I want to make a really cool announcement that Nicole is going to be at Omega with us August 5th to 10th. So we're going to have a 5-day retreat, our annual 5-day retreat at the Omega Center in upstate New York. August 5th to 10th is a fabulous experience. You can go to the site. There's a link here to learn more about Omega. Go to the site. You can see what people are saying about it. We have some amazing speakers that are coming, and Nicole is one of them, and I'm super excited. So Nicole's going to be there at Omega to answer your questions and help guide us through a process for releasing chronic pain. And then, Nicole, you also have an online course that we can participate in too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the reason why I was so excited that we connected, John, is because I know that your community is the kind of people that might be like-minded. Like, they might hear what we're talking about and think it's a great idea, but what a lot of people don't know is how to do it. Right? So a lot of people hear this concept and they say, okay, I totally get it. I've been to the doctors, I've tried the medications, maybe even I've had a surgery, nothing worked. So I believe that it's possible that a physical pain can have an emotional genesis, right? So the pain isn't in my head, but the solution is not in my body. I believe you. How do I do it?
Well, absolutely.
How do I do it?
That's the $1 million question. Yeah.
It certainly is. And so that's what I've attempted to answer in the course. And from what I hear, and I get emails from all over the world every day,
it's happening. Yeah.
It turns like it's happening.
Awesome.
It looks like it's really happening.
I'm excited. I'm going to take the course. So we click this link below on this page, and it'll take us to the information about the course. Yeah.
Yep, it's Freedom from Chronic Pain, and I'm sure like you said, you have a link that goes right to it, and it's 14 lessons. You do it at your own leisure, and I've seen incredible results. I have clients who were in wheelchairs that are now playing 18 holes of golf.
Amazing.
I have people who were on disability for years and years back at work full time.
Yeah.
I mean, really crazy, miraculous stuff, because we don't realize how shut down our bodies are when we're taking all that energy to keep the emotion.
Well, I've experienced it. Grant has had an amazing, miraculous recovery of his back doing this work. So I am super excited. So I just want to say, everyone that's listening, definitely click the link, check out the course, do the course. It could be the best thing you've ever done in your life. Chronic pain not only affects every aspect of the quality of your life, it also affects your weight. So as Nicole said, many people, once they release the chronic pain and release the emotions that are causing the chronic pain that are also causing the weight goes away too. So it's one-stop shopping. And as I said, I'm super excited about it. Definitely click the link. And if you can join us afterwards, after taking the course, or either way, if you can join us at Omega, I'm just excited for Nicole's presentation and for the process that she's going to work us through. So definitely check it out. It's all there on the links below. And Nicole, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for sharing and just all the amazing gifts that you have for us. And Grant, thank you also for sharing your story. And we will speak to you all real soon. Take care.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Nicole.
Bye.